They typically learned otherwise when confronted with galactic realities about power structures and territorial expansion. General Krestok activated his personal communication array to alert the Imperial Fleet Command. Prepare Expeditionary Force Designation 7 for immediate deployment to the Sol system. Standard integration package with minimal resistance protocols. The orders would reach the Imperial shipyards within hours. A small battle group consisting of one heavy cruiser, 3 destroyers, and several support vessels would depart for human space within the week. More than sufficient force to handle any resistance from primitive chemical rockets and kinetic weapons. As the council session concluded, Ambassador Zexai reviewed the final intelligence summaries about human military capabilities. Everything confirmed the initial assessment. A backward species with obsolete technology, fragmentary political organization, and no understanding of galactic military science. Their warships looked like metal tubes with chemical engines strapped to the back. Their weapons fired solid projectiles using explosive powder, a technology most galactic civilizations had abandoned before achieving interplanetary flight. Even their most powerful nuclear devices produced energy yields that barely registered compared to standard plasma warheads. The holographic displays showed human soldiers carrying individual projectile weapons and wearing crude metal armor. Their ground vehicles moved on primitive wheels or tracks instead of proper hover technology. Their aircraft required massive fuel consumption and couldn't operate in vacuum conditions. Everything about their military suggested a species trapped in a transitional phase between industrial and space-age development. Ambassador Zexai felt almost sorry for them. Humanity had achieved the remarkable feat of developing interstellar travel despite their technological limitations, showing genuine innovation and determination. Unfortunately, innovation and determination meant nothing when confronted with superior firepower and defensive capabilities. The Council's approach would at least give them opportunities to surrender with dignity intact. The standard integration protocols offered peaceful absorption into galactic civilization in exchange for territorial concessions and resource-sharing agreements. Many primitive species actually benefited from early integration, gaining access to advanced technologies and trade networks they could never have developed independently. As Ambassador Zexai departed the council chamber, he wondered if humans might prove more adaptable than most emerging civilizations. Their unusual history of continuous warfare suggested they possessed some understanding of military strategy and tactical thinking. Perhaps they would recognize the futility of resistance more quickly than usual. General Krestok shared similar thoughts as he reviewed deployment schedules for the expeditionary force. The humans might provide useful auxiliary troops after integration, given their apparent comfort with military conflict. Their aggressive tendencies could be channeled productively in service to the Empire's expansion efforts. The Imperial fleet moved with characteristic efficiency. Within 72 hours, Expeditionary Force 7 had assembled and begun acceleration toward the Sol system. The journey would require approximately 2 weeks at standard faster-than-light speeds, giving the human delegation enough time to complete their diplomatic presentations to the Council. Intelligence reports continued arriving during the transit period. Human space activities showed increasing urgency as more ships departed Earth toward their outer colonies. Several large vessels appear to be transporting civilian populations to settlements on Mars and the moons of their gas giants. Standard evacuation procedures for a species anticipating potential conflict. This behavior pattern matched historical precedents from previous integration campaigns. Primitive species often attempted to scatter their populations when confronted with superior civilizations, hoping to preserve some remnant of their culture in remote locations. The strategy never succeeded against Imperial tracking technology and orbital bombardment capabilities. Admiral Corvin Th., commanding the Expeditionary Force, studied tactical projections for various scenarios. Human resistance would likely center on their home planet and primary colonies using orbital installations and ground-based weapons for defensive purposes. Their ships lacked the speed and firepower to engage Imperial vessels in open space combat. The most probable outcome involved brief skirmishes as human forces tested Imperial defenses, followed by rapid surrender when they realized the hopelessness of their situation. The few species that had attempted prolonged resistance against Imperial forces had discovered that primitive technology simply could not compete with energy shields, plasma weapons, and faster-than-light tactical mobility. As the Imperial fleet approached the edge of the Sol system, Admiral Corvin TH activated long-range sensors to survey human defensive positions. The results matched intelligence predictions almost perfectly. Human ships clustered around their major population centers, while orbital platforms provided minimal defensive coverage. No sign of advanced weaponry or shield generators anywhere in the system. Standard approach vector to Earth, ordered Admiral Corvin TH. Maintain weapons powered, but not targeted. Begin broadcasting surrender demands on all human communication frequencies. The Admiral expected this campaign to conclude within days rather than weeks. Humanity would quickly recognize the impossibility of meaningful resistance and negotiate for the best possible terms under the circumstances. Another successful integration for the Imperial archives, achieved with minimal expenditure of time and resources. The future seemed clear to everyone aboard the Imperial vessels. Humanity would join the countless other species serving the Galactic Council's interests, contributing their resources and labor to the greater galactic civilization. Their warlike tendencies might even prove useful in future integration campaigns against more troublesome primitive worlds. What none of them realized was that humanity had been listening to galactic communications for much longer than anyone suspected. What none of them understood was that human warfare had evolved along entirely different principles than any galactic civilization had encountered. What none of them could have imagined was that primitive technology, when applied with sufficient creativity and desperation, could pose threats that advanced civilizations had never learned to anticipate. The Imperial fleet continued its approach toward Earth, confident in their technological superiority and proven tactics. Behind them, something began moving in the outer darkness of the Sol system, something that no galactic sensor suite had been designed to detect, something that would soon introduce the galaxy to an entirely new understanding of what warfare could become. Admiral Corvin TH studied the tactical display showing the Sol system's inner planets as his fleet maintained standard approach velocity toward Earth. The human response to their surrender demands had proven surprisingly defiant, though ultimately meaningless given the vast disparity in military capabilities. Human transmission incoming on standard diplomatic frequencies, reported communications officer Velkmore from her station aboard the Imperial flagship Retribution. The Admiral activated the main view screen to receive the message. A middle-aged human male appeared, wearing what appeared to be a military uniform with numerous decorations. Behind him, other humans worked at primitive electronic consoles covered with blinking lights and small video monitors. "This is Admiral Sarah Chun of the United Earth Defense Force," the human said, her voice carrying an odd combination of formality and underlying tension. "We have received your ultimatum regarding integration into your galactic civilization. After careful consideration, Earth's unified government must respectfully decline your generous offer." Admiral Corvin TH felt mild surprise at the human's response. Most primitive species required at least one demonstration of Imperial firepower before attempting diplomatic negotiations. These humans seemed determined to proceed directly to feudal resistance. Furthermore, Admiral Chun continued, "We must inform you that your vessels have entered Earth's territorial space without permission. While we appreciate your desire for peaceful contact, we cannot allow military forces of unknown intention to approach our homeworld. We request that your fleet withdraw beyond the heliopause while formal diplomatic channels can be established." The absurdity of the human admiral's statement prompted actual laughter from several Imperial officers. A primitive civilization with chemical rockets and kinetic weapons, was demanding that advanced faster-than-light warships withdraw from their system. The sheer audacity bordered on impressive. Respond with standard pacification protocols, ordered Admiral Corventich. Inform them that resistance will only increase the eventual integration costs. Begin charging main weapons for demonstration purposes. The Imperial response transmission began immediately. Human military commander, you misunderstand your situation. The Korthak Empire possesses technological superiority that renders your resistance impossible. Observe our capabilities and reconsider your position. The Imperial flagship's main plasma cannons powered up to minimal firing strength. Admiral Corventich selected a small asteroid in the system's outer belt as a target, calculating that the resulting destruction would demonstrate Imperial firepower without appearing overtly threatening. The plasma discharge lasted mere seconds, completely vaporizing a rock formation that had existed for billions of years. Did they observe the demonstration? Asked Weapons Officer Thrakenel. Communications Officer Velkmore monitored human transmission frequencies. Affirmative. Their communications networks are experiencing significant activity. Multiple transmissions between their planet and outer system installations. Admiral Corventich nodded with satisfaction. The demonstration typically prompted immediate reconsideration of resistance by primitive species. Destroying an asteroid with casual ease provided unmistakable evidence of Imperial technological advantages without directly threatening human populations. The human response came within hours, much faster than expected. Admiral Chen appeared on the view screen again, though her expression seemed notably different. Instead of the nervous formality from her previous transmission, she displayed what Admiral Corventich recognized as the controlled calm of an experienced military commander. Admiral Corventich of the Imperial Fleet, she began, using his name despite never having received formal introductions. Your demonstration has been noted and analyzed. We acknowledge your advanced weapons technology and appreciate your restraint in not directing it against populated areas. This response differed significantly from the typical pattern. Primitive species usually either surrendered immediately after witnessing plasma weapons or responded with desperate threats about unleashing their most powerful weapons. Human Admiral Chen seemed to be treating the situation as a tactical assessment rather than an existential crisis. However, she continued, we must reiterate Earth's position regarding unauthorized military presence in our system. Your technological advantages are obvious, but technological superiority alone does not determine the outcome of military conflicts. We hope you will consider withdrawing to allow proper diplomatic negotiations. Admiral Corventich felt growing irritation at human persistence. They continue to make demands despite witnessing our capabilities. Begin approach to Earth orbital space. Perhaps proximity to their population centers will encourage more realistic thinking. The Imperial fleet accelerated toward the inner system, maintaining formation and full sensor sweeps. Human space installations became visible as the fleet passed Mars orbit, revealing a more extensive defensive network than initial intelligence had suggested. Orbital platforms surrounded Earth and its moon, while smaller installations dotted the asteroid belt and outer planet moons. Human defensive capabilities are more developed than reported. Observe Tactical Officer Greneltalk. Multiple weapons platforms in Earth orbit and what appear to be military installations throughout their system. Admiral Corventich studied the updated sensor readings with professional interest. The humans had obviously been preparing for potential conflict much longer than their peaceful diplomatic messages had suggested. Their orbital installations showed signs of recent construction, with several platforms still under active assembly. Evaluate threat potential of human defensive systems, he commanded. Tactical analysis began immediately. The human orbital weapons appeared to be enlarged versions of their ground-based kinetic systems, designed to fire projectiles using electromagnetic acceleration instead of chemical explosives. Primitive railgun technology that most galactic civilizations had experimented with before developing energy weapons. Human weapons show no signs of energy shielding penetration capability, reported Grindle Talk after completing his assessment. Kinetic projectiles will be stopped completely by our defensive screens. Their largest weapons appear incapable of damaging Imperial armor plating even without shield protection. The analysis confirmed Admiral Corvin TH's expectations. Human technological development had focused on improving their primitive weapon systems rather than developing the advanced energy manipulation necessary for effective interstellar warfare. Their railguns might pose threats to unshielded civilian vessels, but Imperial warships were designed to withstand plasma bombardments and antimatter explosions. Continue approach. Begin broadcasting integration terms on all frequencies. Make it clear that continued resistance will result in escalating consequences. The Imperial fleet reached Earth orbital space without encountering any human defensive action. Their ships took positions surrounding the planet, demonstrating their ability to control human space at will. The orbital weapons platforms tracked Imperial movement, but did not activate their targeting systems. Admiral Corvin TH found the human restraint puzzling. Most primitive species attempted some form of defensive action when foreign military forces occupied their home system. Humans seemed to be observing Imperial capabilities while carefully avoiding any action that could be interpreted as aggressive. Admiral Chun is requesting direct communication. Announced communications, Officer Velkmore. The human admiral appeared on screen again, this time speaking from what appeared to be a military command center deep underground. Behind her, countless technicians worked at monitoring stations displaying complex data streams and tactical projections. Admiral Corvin TH, your fleet's occupation of Earth orbital space violates every principle of interstellar law that civilized species should respect. We understand that your technology gives you temporary tactical advantages, but sustainable political relationships require mutual respect and voluntary cooperation. The human admiral's tone remained professionally calm despite the obvious threat posed by Imperial plasma weapons positioned above her planet. Admiral Corvin TH found her composure almost admirable, though ultimately irrelevant to the strategic situation. You speak of interstellar law to representatives of the civilization that established those laws, he responded. The Galactic Council determines what constitutes civilized behavior, and the Council has authorized human integration into galactic society. Your compliance is required, not optional. Admiral Chen nodded, as if she had expected that response. We understand your position, Admiral. However, we must inform you that Earth's defense planning has been based on careful study of galactic military doctrine obtained through monitoring your communications over the past several years. Admiral Corvin TH felt the first stirring of genuine concern. If humans had been intercepting galactic communications, they possessed more advanced technology than intelligence reports had indicated. Faster-than-light communication interception required sophisticated equipment that supposedly primitive civilizations could not develop. Our analysis suggests that galactic military science has evolved along predictable lines based on energy weapon dominance and defensive shielding, Admiral Chen continued. Your tactical doctrines appear optimized for conflicts between civilizations using similar technological approaches. This observation struck Admiral Corvin TH as unexpectedly perceptive. Galactic warfare had indeed standardized around energy weapons and shield technology over the past several centuries. The combination proved so effective against conventional threats that most military planners had stopped considering alternative approaches. However, said Admiral Chun, human military development followed different evolutionary pressures. Our warfare experience taught us to expect technological asymmetry and to develop tactics that could function despite facing superior enemy capabilities. The human admiral activated a holographic display behind her, showing what appeared to be historical footage of human military conflicts. The images depicted massive armies using increasingly sophisticated weapons systems, culminating in scenes of orbital bombardment and space-based combat that looked surprisingly advanced for supposedly primitive civilization. We learned long ago that technological superiority alone cannot guarantee military victory, Admiral Chen explained. Superior technology provides significant advantages, but those advantages can be neutralized through proper tactical application of available resources. Admiral Corvin TH studied the human combat footage with growing unease. The scenes showed human forces adapting to face enemies with overwhelming technological advantages, using tactics that prioritize mobility, deception, and asymmetric force application. These were not the desperate struggles of a primitive species, but sophisticated military operations conducted by experienced professionals.